Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, misery bots of all ages, back again with another video. This one's going to be a bit different than what I usually do. This time, I'm actually reacting to this podcast by MK Reo or Rio MK podcast, in which they're talking about like the failure of 2XKO. Now, for those who don't know, a couple weeks ago, I put out a video for 2XKO, basically saying that did it die, was it DOA? Did it die on arrival? Because like it was like 2 days after the game had like released or something like that, and there was just nobody talking about it. It was like no reviews on it or anything like that. So now I just find it like kind of funny that these people are kind of talking about the game. I'm just trying to see what's going on with 2KO. Right? Is this the video? Let me see. Yeah, I think it is because I think I wrote like it was like dead or revival or something like that.
Girls misery by it launched yesterday, right? It launched
hmm
January 20th, 2026. We are now.
So definitely check out this video. I'll try to link it in the descriptions below. But basically, in this video, which I did 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I basically talk about like is 2XKO like dead on arrival, basically because like it was out for 2 days and there was like no reviews on it. Like nobody was really talking about this really big fighting game that had just launched. Typically, you get like reviews and a lot of people talking about it like right before the game even launches. But in this particular case with 2XKO, which was a free to play game, it was like days after before like reviews started to really come out. Like now, 2 weeks into it, we do got more and more people coming out talking about it. You got more reviews and stuff about it. There's more of a spotlight on it. It did already have some tournaments and stuff like that, but up until that point, like nobody was talking about it. And now the game's only been out like 2 weeks or so, a little more than 2 weeks, and it's already getting like negative publicity. Basically, they basically laid off like half their crew or whatever. So I'm just curious to see what like Rio and Tom and the other guy, I forget his name, Dave, I think it is, talk about it because I respect these guys. They're in the MK community, and they've been in the MK community and the fighting game community for a very long time. So I am curious to know what their opinions on and their aspects and views on what's going on with this whole 2XKO situation. So let's sit back, let's chill, let's listen to it, and I'll also put my 2 cents as they talk too.
It was supposed to be this massive big game with a lot of people working on it, huge production, like what they've been working on for like almost 10 years straight. And it seems like now they announced that they're going to be reducing the support by a ton to move on to possibly something else. What do you guys think about it?
Tom, go ahead.
Okay. So give me just 5 minutes on this, Dave, because there's a few things. It's not about do FGCs work or do fighting games work.
I'm about to go off. This dude said, "Give me 5 minutes to break this down."
Or not work. So a couple of things. For one, just so you understand what happened, 2XKO just had it's only been out for about a month officially, and it just had its coming out party tournament 8 days before they made this
Not
announcement.
even a
So
month. It's been out like
February
2-3
1st
weeks.
was the final day of their Frosty Faustings, and on February 9th, this announcement came out. So 8 days after they just did that $50,000 payout, to which first place gets 20 grand, and even 17th got $150. And it's not much, but for the FGC, for someone that low to even get $1 is impossible. It's unheard of. It doesn't happen. So when they made the announcement, which let me just ballpark it, they cut their development team from 180 to 60. So they cut it by half, or whatever it was. I don't even think that's half. From 120 to 60. My mistake. I'm stupid. Math. It's late, guys. At least for me, I'm old.
Not everybody can
So
do
they cut
math,
it by
Tom. Not
50%,
everybody.
which is pretty drastic. And the long story is they just didn't get enough support, basically monetary. I don't know where they thought the game was going to be. It is a free-to-play game. And keep in mind, when you have a game that, as many people have been saying, what did they expect? They released it, quote-unquote, bare bones.
He brings up a good point. Like 2XKO is a free-to-play fighting game. Like I don't when's the last free-to-play fighting game we actually got? Like true type fighting game? Because I know we got, I think it was like Multiverses or something like that. It was one of those like Brawlhalla as well too. So we've gotten like fighting games that were free to play, but they were more along the lines of like a Smash Brothers and stuff like that, where 2XKO is more of a versus type fighting game. And I don't know if we've ever gotten like a versus type fighting game for free. Now, I will say one of the downfalls, in my opinion, or one of the things that could be better that can help the 2XKO game is if they put it on Steam. Because as of right now, 2XKO is not on Steam. You have to have the Riot launcher, and not everybody have the Riot launcher, and not everybody wants to download the Riot launcher. Granted, it's not much, like you don't have to pay or anything for it, but some people just don't want to do that. They just want to do everything from Steam. On top of that, like it does make it easier. If they were to put it on Steam, it wouldn't make it easier to play it on like your Steam Deck and the upcoming Steam machine if they were just to put it on Steam. So I do think that Riot should consider putting 2XKO on Steam and even Epic Store, just anywhere you can get it. And is this game even on Nintendo Switch? Like if it's not on Nintendo Switch, it needs to make its way to Nintendo Switch too. So
I don't know how bare bones it actually is. I never played it with only 11 characters.
it is pretty
What did they
bare
expect was
bones.
going to happen? Well, that's all the more reason why you would think they would still keep that development team, because of all the content that people are expecting
Yep.
would be added if the game truly is 11 characters, quote unquote, bare bones, whatever.
I don't even think
One
it's
thing to
11. I think
really,
it's like 10, and you can only play
notice
like
also
7.
is that, again, it is a free to play game. We've seen this model before with Multiverses that tanked extremely quickly. And now, literally 1 month after the game's official launch and 8 days after.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, he said Multiverses tanked very quickly. If I recall correctly, it was like a really big success at when it first came out, when I think it was still in beta. But then when they like took it down and then they re-released it and gave it like an official launch or something like that, I think at that point it like just died. It just died
Their
horribly.
official coming out party, they have just pretty much, cut their dev team in half, basically saying it's not bringing in enough money to really justify keeping on a team of that size. What this really shows is that, for one, people don't really realize just how small the FGC is. And I'm not trying to say 2XKO has failed or it's over, but just in the free-to-play model, as Dave said on a competition the other day, you have to look at the demographic you're advertising to. So you're looking at fighting game players. So let me tell you the difference between fighting games and maybe another genre. Let's take ARPGs. If you're targeting an ARPG, you're pretty much targeting all ARPG players. I'm going to bring some big content creators: Al Kaiser,
ARPG.
Rexanterex, Kriparian. All these guys, they'll play Diablo, PoE, Last Epoch.
I actually don't know
They've had their days on WoW,
what he's talking about. What's
which
an
is just an
ARPG?
But when you target one, you're pretty much targeting everyone in that genre. And that genre, or most genres, are considerably bigger than the FGC.
I mean, I would assume that that's the same thing with the fighting game.
Community divided into other small niche communities. So when you release a game to the FGC, you're
Yes
not
and no.
releasing it
Yes
for
and
the
no.
greater FGC. You're releasing it for.
So when he says that the FGC is a smaller niche community that's divided into other smaller communities and stuff like that, yes and no. Yes and no. So like the fighting game community is relatively small compared to maybe like a first-person shooter genre or something like that. But it's still not a small community. I mean, like, for example, Mortal Kombat 11 has sold over 20 million units. Like, Street Fighter 5 sold over 10 million. Tekken 7 sold over 10 million. Dragon Ball Fighter sold over 10 million. You know, Smash Brothers is over, 30 million or something like that. So there are, over, 10 million potential fighting game players and stuff like that. Now, granted, some of that is people are cross purchasing and stuff like that, because I know I have like both Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. I tend to buy both of those games. But when he said it's broken down to other communities, is yes, you have the fighting game genre, but within there you do have party games like Smash Brothers. You have the 3D games like Virtual Fighter, DOA, and Tekken. You have the 2v just the regular 1v1 games like your Mortal Kombat and your Street Fighters. You have your tag based or assist based games like your MK1, your Marvel vs. Capcom, your 2XKO and stuff like that. So within that genre that, like he said, isn't the biggest genre, but relative to some of the other genres in games, it does break it up. And it's hard to encompass all of that stuff into one game. Like, how do you appease somebody that likes the party-esque aspects of like a Smash Brothers or a Brawlhalla or something like that? How do you appease people who like the 1v1 fighting of like Mortal Kombat 11 or Street Fighter 6? How do you appease people that like the tag-based fighting like the Dragon Ball Fighters and stuff like that? So how do you do that? I mean, I think Mortal Kombat 1 tried to do that and appease to like the Mortal Kombat people who like the 1v1 and also the people who like the tag-based type fighting games by adding an assist-based type fighting game, some sort of middle ground or whatever. But that ended up being like an epic fail, in my opinion.
A very small part of the FGC.
Not an epic fail, but
Mortal
a fail.
Kombat and Street
A
Fighter
relative fail.
represent the vast majority of the FGC.
Because MK1 still sold better than most fighting games.
Name. And you have 6 million, basically they both sold around 6.2, 6.5 million. So around 13 million over multiple years between those two titles. And that's the largest share of the whole FGC. That's not a lot of people. So you got to realize just how small the FGC is.
It's not really the largest share of the FGC. Like I said, Smash Brothers sold like 30 million and Mortal Kombat 11 sitting at about 20 million.
So when you're releasing a game to the FGC, you're releasing to a very, very, very small number of people in the overall gaming sense. And if that number, only a very small number of people are actually going to pick up that game. Because 2XKO, is like every fighting game, is going to be niche. It's not going to have the following of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Those two are juggernauts as far as sales.
I mean, Tekken does pretty good as well as Dragon Ball and Naruto. It's going
to be more of like a Guilty Gear type of follow.
And that's the other thing. The Naruto type games too are a different type of fighting game.
Doesn't mean that so many people are actually going to be putting money into it. So overall, it's good. It's a very niche part of the FGC that's going to take it seriously. Let's just even highball it and say of the entire FGC, 2XKO will appeal to 60% of people in the whole FGC. And 60%, while it's not a lot of people, it's a large percentage of the FGC. Of that 60%, let's just say there's probably 15% that download it for free and say, well, it's just not for me. I'm not going to spend my money on it. I tried it. It was okay. So, but that's still, but Tom, they grabbed 45% of the FGC. That's still a large number. Of that 45%, let's say that half of that number is actually going to be willing to spend money on it. So now you got like 20-something% of the FGC that's willing to spend money. So you got a small portion of a small portion of a small portion of people to get into the game seriously and are willing to spend money. And that's your business model on how to be profitable. Meanwhile, you're paying out $50,000 on your 1 month in, and you plan on paying out considerably more. And what's crazy is for years, and Dave, I know you've heard this, about 10 years, maybe a little less than 10 years, all I heard was Riot has cracked the code. There's going to be there's going to be a League of Legends fighting.
I see where he's going with that. Like, because if you look at other genres, like the shooting game genre or whatever, you have something like Fortnite or Apex Legend, and which there's so many people that play those games, but it's actually a small percent of people that actually spend money. But because the pool of people that are playing those type of games, you're talking anywhere upwards of 20, 30, 40, 50 million people that are playing those games. Even if you only have like 5-10 million people spending money on that, that's enough to kind of sustain you and stuff like that. And that's what he's getting at. Whereas because the FGC, the fighting game community, is relatively smaller to like the shooting game genre, even though this model is how it works, where you tend to get a lot more people playing the game and a small amount of people actually investing their money into the game, that pool of people that's going to invest their money into the game tends to be a lot smaller because the community itself is relatively smaller compared to other communities, such as like the shooting game community or something like that.
Game and it's going to change everything in the FGC. There's going
Or even like the MMO community too, because I think you have, was Final Fantasy 14 free? I believe. I think it was free at one point. But that has so many people playing it right now. Same thing with Warframe and Warframe, but Warframe I think is, I don't know. I get what he's going though. I get where he's going. I'm picking up what he's putting
League of
down.
Legends, FGC is everything's gonna change, and we see that's not the case. The FGC, the reason why there's no money to get out of the FGC because there's no money that the FGC puts
Like and
into itself.
subscribe. Like and
It's
subscribe.
it's
This is
it's
live,
one of
bro.
the
This is
smallest,
live.
if not the
Feel
smallest
free to leave
scene,
some comments
and it's
too.
also probably the most impoverished scene, and I don't mean that as a dig. The fighting games have a considerably more younger crowd than most other games, which by default means they're going to have less access to funds. And so in general, it was just snakebit from the start. And that model just can't possibly work in fighting games. It's not that fighting games, even if 2XKO came out and they said, okay, we're going to charge you $60 for the game, and then you're going to have, microtransactions, etc. It would sell what at most maybe 3-4 million over the first couple of years. I mean, and again, I want you to really understand, other games sell like 25 million within the first day to first week, like some bigger games. If you took Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, that's 13 million over the last 2 to 3 years. That's a very small number of people. And
that, I see where Tom's going with that, because like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter are, amongst the biggest fighting games. He's neglecting Tekken, Tekken 8, which has also sold very well. If I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna say Tekken 8 is sitting at like 5 million. Like Tekken 8 is up there with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat 1. You also got to take into account people are still buying the older games. Like people are still going back and buying like Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 11, particularly Mortal Kombat 11. I did a video just a week ago where I was stating like, Mortal Kombat 11 has sold over 20 million units and stuff like that. And that's because like, I want to say it's the Elder God bundle. You have like a lot of people, buying like older fighting games and stuff like that. So yeah, I get it. Like Street Fighter and MK are like the two titans or whatever, but he is kind of neglecting Tekken, which is also a titan. It's the biggest like 3D fighting game and stuff like that, as well as just some of the other smaller fighting games too, and older fighting games too, because we also had like the Mortal Kombat collection. Granted, was it the Mortal Kombat collection? No, Mortal Kombat Legacy collection, which granted, that most likely flopped. But we also had other stuff like the Fatal Fury game, City of the Wolves. You also had the Street Fighter Capcom collection. You still have like Smash Brothers on the Nintendo Switch, which all that stuff is still selling very much. So obviously it's a way bigger pool. It's way bigger than just like the 6 million each for Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter. It's just other people they're buying other games. Like I myself just recently bought like Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Boruto versus Boruto or something, Boruto Connections. Like I recently just bought that, and that game came out like 3 years ago.
that's the two largest FGC share.
Yo, what up, Zal Seed? Like Zal Seed, just give me the heads up. Basically, I'm just watching this podcast, listening to this podcast with like people who are in the Mortal Kombat community, and they're talking about the fighting game that I've been playing lately, the 2XKO. They just laid off like half their staff, and supposedly they're not really doing very well financially. I'm just giving you the rundown of what's going on right now. And you got people like, MK, Tom Brady, Rio, and stuff like that. You may have heard of these people. They've been in the tournament scene for Mortal Kombat for decades now. And they've just given their 2 cents of what they believe is going on with 2XKO. And it says also concerning for Mortal Kombat's future, so they're probably also going to talk about like the future of Mortal Kombat. And I'm basically just kind of adding my 2 cents as they talk and give my opinion on what I think is happening. So, but what up, Zal? See what you up to, man? You at work?
Games in the FGC, that's still only 13 million. And how many people have, let's say, all those people downloaded it for free? How many of those are actually going to pay? The FGC is just a small number. And it takes fighting games multiple games over multiple years to do what most games do in a single day of sales. So it's just the numbers.
Yeah, 2XKO's laid off like half their staff. Supposedly, I want to say they were probably like around 140, 160. They laid off like half their staff, so now they're under 100 people. And the game's only been out like 2-3 weeks. So people are basically saying, yeah, the game's probably not doing very well financially. You also have to take into account that the game is free to play. Like it's not, you don't have to pay to play that game. It's just free to play. You can download it and just play it right now. Like it's free to play. Yeah, I'm working and then I'm doing OT until 7 or 11 p.m. Well, I actually got to work tonight too, so I'll probably be going into work around the time you're getting off. So I won't even be able to play you in no Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm.
And like when a new game like this is coming out and you try it, usually you ask yourself, well, what is this game going to offer me? Like, what does 2XKO play? Like, what's the meta like? Is it just doing 50-50s and big combos and mix-ups? Because if that's the case, I already get that out of the Mortal Kombat games I'm playing. You know, like I don't need to go play another fighting game to deal with the same meta stuff.
Like,
I don't have any attachment to any of the leaks.
in terms of like mix-ups and 50-50, I don't come across a lot of that in 2XKO, with the exception of the Warwick, the Wolf dude. He's the only one that really has like crazy 50-50, and it's not even that crazy either.
You know, they're like, there's no reason really to branch out to that. But aside from that, I mean, the game launching, I heard it only launched for like 10 characters, and then some of them are locked by you have to grind for them. That's also a turnoff. You can't have fighting games these days coming out with only 10 characters. People are going to be bored out of their mind after like a month of playing the same character. So that already was a bad recipe. And the whole free-to-play thing is weird. It seems like they're kind of doing what worked for League of Legends, which is a whole different video game genre with MOBA, and trying to include it into a fighting game, but we don't really play fighting games.
I do agree that they probably should have launched the game with more characters. Like,
that's not really what we like.
it has like, I don't remember how many characters, like 10 characters, but even with the 10 characters, you can only play like 6 or 7 characters. You can't even play all 10. You got to unlock them first or pay for them.
Is it really expensive? $30 for a skin pack?
Yeah, that's what people are saying. Yeah.
Some of those skin
It's
packs are
like
pretty
they're not
expensive.
monetizing it. I mean, I understand why they're trying to monetize it, right? It's a free game. But when the content isn't really there because the game is free, and then they have to make it up by doing stuff like that, that's already a bad sign. I think this game is just destined to fail the way it is. You don't come to the FTC, that's already, like Tom said, it's very minimal. We already are fractured between different games that we want to play, because fighting games aren't like first-person shooter games. If you're good at a first-person shooter game, more often than not, when you go to play another first-person shooter, you have good aim, because most first-person shooter games have that intact, where you're aiming, you know how to aim, you know how to point, you know how to click, so you'll be able to transfer easier. In fighting games, it's different. In some of these fighting games, you'll be able to anti-air, and other ones, they don't function properly, or in these fighting games, the way that the neutral and the moves work, like everything is just completely different from one another. So that, in a way, with how the nature of fighting games are created so differently from each other, that almost makes it so it's harder for fighting games to grow off of each other, because they play so differently. Usually people specialize in certain fighting games. But yeah, it's really sad to see that.
And that's basically what Tom was saying, is within the fighting game community, it's smaller communities. So like, if you're good in like Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, that don't mean you're going to be good in like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. If you're good in Street Fighter, don't mean you're going to be good in Mortal Kombat, and vice versa. If you're good in Mortal Kombat, doesn't mean you're going to be good in Street Fighter. And if you're good in either of those games, you still may not be good in like Tekken, because those are all different games. That means you may not be good in like Dragon Ball FighterZ or Marvel vs. Capcom. There's just, and if you're good in all of those games, right? Let's say you're good with Naruto, Tekken, Dead or Alive, Street Fighter, Virtual Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Marvel vs. Capcom. Let's say you're good in all of that. You might still be trash in Smash Brothers or Brawlhalla's or Multiverses, because those are like they're all fighting games and they're all within the fighting game community, but they're so different from each other that your skills that you take doesn't necessarily carry over. It's not like shooting games, like first-person shooting games. If you have good aim in like COD or whatever, you're probably gonna have good aim in like Battlefield or Titanfall or Apex Legends. So, and that's what he's getting at, and that's actually what MK Tom was actually talking about too.
The game has been in open beta for what now, a couple months, and they're already pulling the plug and just heavily reducing what they're going to be putting in the game in terms of as effort going forward.
Yeah, and real quick, Dave, what Rio said is so. That's why I brought up ARPGs, and Rio brings up shooters. They're, someone's going to say they're not all identical, and they're not. but they share a similarity, like
Mhm.
aiming. If you
Exactly.
have that skill set, it transfers to fighting games. Skill sets don't transfer from one character to the next sometimes, let alone.
Yeah, not only that too, like in a shooting game, a lot of the times the buttons are exactly the same. You already know like your R2 is gonna be to shoot, your L2 is to aim and stuff like that. You might have to reload with like the square or the X button. So like the buttons tend to be the same. Where in fighting games, that's the buttons could be completely different.
Again, to use that microtransaction, I know they have to make money, but again, they're using the microtransaction model, and the FGC also is not a big microtransaction community. If you give the FGC a game for free, they're going to play it for free and they're not going to buy nothing in the game. So I'm still really surprised at their decision.
Absolutely. I literally have Tom and you and I were discussing this.
I don't think 2xKO is instantly DOA. It may be able to save it if they change things. Releasing with less than 12 to 16 characters for any fighting game is not a great sign for me. No, and I agree. Like I think it only launched with like maybe 10 characters, but even within that 10 characters, there are characters that are locked. So you either have to unlock them by playing the game, and it's like a good 4 characters, at least 4 characters that are locked. So you only really have access to like 6, 7 characters. So you would either have to play the game and unlock get the currency in order to unlock certain characters, or you just gotta pay for it because you can actually pay to unlock certain characters, which I'm thinking about doing because Jinx from Arcane, the crazy chick that blows shit up in the Arcane show, she's in the game, but she's actually one of the ones that was locked. If I'm not mistaken, Vi, the one with the one that I use with the arms and stuff like that, she was also locked. I had to unlock her, but I think I had earned like a token in order to unlock her.
I don't know, 25-year-old, the insinuation is that he or she probably, graduated college maybe, or, they kind of found their way after high school. At least, I know this is more like of an American perspective, but the point is, those people probably have some money, right? Like, and they have some money to spend. They call what do they call? I think disposable income, right? Which essentially means
they mostly use 3 to 5 characters in a fighting game, so having 10 characters isn't bad. It just looks bad because we as gamers spoiled with excess. Yes and no though, Zal, because like granted, it's let's say 10 characters, and like I said, out of the 10, you can only really use like 6 or 7 of them because the others are locked. What if the 6 or 7 characters that are in the game are characters you don't like? Like you don't like let's say for example, Street Fighter, right? You like playing Street Fighter, you like Blanca in Street Fighter. What if Street Fighter had launched with no Blanca in the game? Now and no Ryu. Now you're looking for a character to play and you don't like the characters that are there. And because this has like a smaller options, then you may not like the characters to play with. Like for example, like I don't think is there a grappler? There might be one grappler. But like if you're somebody that likes to play grapplers in fighting games, and then you play a game like 2xKO where you only have access to like 6 characters, and let's say none of them are grapplers, well then you're gonna struggle because you prefer to play a grappler in the game and there's no grapplers as an option. Meant to say mostly used. Yeah, I figured.
Like who cares? What you have to do, you have to always advertise or promote the game to a larger audience, and that's what MK has done, and that's always the right thing to do. And this is not necessarily a criticism of Rio, but like fighting games having no execution. Yet Tom in one of the episodes said, "Well, I can't play this. Like this will be a full-time job." Like, yes, of course it would be, and it's not worth it. Why would you? Like, it takes too much to learn all the matchups, to learn, like especially when if you haven't played for a while. So I think you should always, from now, never listen to the FGC ever. They're never going to be happy anyway, even if you do.
Also, Dave.
Real quick, Rusty Spark says, "What's up, Tom?"
Hey, what's up, Rusty? So I play ARPGs. So right now, if I were to load up my last eProd profile, I probably have the best geared Judgment Paladin like on planet Earth, like in season 3 anyway. Now I have no time to play fighting games, right? But guess what? I bought all the cosmetics. I bought all the supporter packs.
That's kind of where I'm at. Like I don't have as much time to play games, period. And the sheer amount of fighting games that I want to play Street Fighter, I want to play Mortal Kombat, I want to play 2XKO, I want to play Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storms, I want to play Dead or Alive, but I don't have the time to invest in any of these games to get like really good. With the exception of something like Mortal Kombat, but I've been playing that for years, and same as Street Fighter, I've been playing that for years at this point.
Why? Because they're just too time consuming.
So I agree with him.
The model works for other games.
He said he doesn't play fighting games anymore because it's too time consuming.
And guess what? At the highest possible, I guess, quote unquote level, this is pretty well geared. Most casuals are not going to have a character this well put together. And I was able to do it at my own pace over time, so on and so forth. Fighting games just, this is why they appeal to more of a younger audience. And something else also, the FGC is a lot like, so how do I say this without being offensive to another demographic in sports? But basically, they don't even really support their own. Let me give you an example. The FGC is full of stories of opportunity that doesn't go anywhere. There's tons of stories of whether it's the free-to-play model. You can go back to Multiverses that tried this. Multiverses actually got covered by massive content creators who don't even play fighting games.
Yep,
because
that's true.
they're doing something that fighting games don't normally do, and we saw how that went. And this is going the same route. And those were actually more popular characters like Superman, Batman, etc. You know,
I think they had LeBron James in that joint.
Popular. I'm not trying to,
they had Scooby Doo, Shaggy.
So whether it's that example or whether how many pro leagues have tried to get money out of the FGC, they all crumble. Or how many sponsors with people with millions of dollars of backing leave because they can't get any money out of the FGC. Or back in the old days before streaming services where they would try to televise a few fighting game events. And back then when they were televised, you know, it goes off of these stations make money off ad revenue. So however well the show rates is how much they can charge for ad time. Spoiler, fighting games rated in the bottom, not because nobody cares, but just because there's just not enough. There's not enough people to have ratings be high. There's not enough people for a sponsor or a pro league to be profitable or draw money out of the FGC. There's just not enough people because it's a sub community of a sub community of a sub community, and that's for that game. And they don't cross over. They don't watch this game when they play that game. They don't put money in this game when they play it. They don't cross over. Even for streaming, same thing. They don't cross over. And what you have to understand,
he's spitting right now. He's spitting right now because he's absolutely right. Like, I don't typically play Tekken, so like I don't typically watch Tekken streams, nor do I buy the Tekken game or play the Tekken game. Same thing with so many other games. Like, I don't typically play Smash Brothers, so I don't watch Smash Brothers tournaments and or buy the Smash Brothers games or cosmetics or anything like that. So he has a point. He does have a point. But at the same time, I mean, it's also the same way with other games too. Like, not everybody watches like a Call of Duty tournament or a Battlefield tournament and stuff like that, even though they all play first-person shooting games.
For one, you're going to have the smallest turnouts